everyone. Hope you are good and be happy always. Board exams are approaching and everyone is panicked. See, don't panic. Just remember one term, HUC. HCC. That means happy, confident and calm. Why happy? Because when you're happy, you tend to do everything nicely and you tend to understand everything nicely. So always be happy. Then second is confident. Be confident. You're not going to score less than 95% marks because nothing is going to happen in exams. You are going to score very good percentage of marks. Believe in yourself. Why believe in yourself? Because if you believe in yourself, world will believe in you. You will really score good marks. This code is going to be repeated in every class. Why? Because you have to remember just one thing. HUC, HCC, that is happy, confident and calm. It's your right to have a good life, have a good percentage. Just being happy is going to do all the trick because a panicked mind cannot understand everything nicely. So be happy, be calm and be confident. So this is code of your success. You need to remember this code every time you study. Get to study early or maybe late at the night. Whatever type of person you are, if you wish to study at night, study at night. If you wish to study in the morning hours, study in the morning hours. But remember only one thing. Everything is going to come from your books only. You have lot more access to all the videos on YouTube and internet like Google and all. You can always Google and you can find anything in this world. Lot many notes are available nowadays. Previously there were not many notes available to us and we were not having access to YouTube videos, etc. So we were quite handicapped in some of the cases, but you people have access to everything in this world. So just rise, just be confident, just be happy and rise to different kinds of heights in your life by scoring good percentage of marks in your 12th board, because 12th board and 10th board are really very important because these mark sheets will be featured every time you go for an interview, every time you go for any type of exam and every time you go to get any or grab any job. So be confident, be happy and be calm. Let's start with the topic for today. Here for board exams also this topic is important. Even every topic is important. Don't try to leave any topic in your books. Don't go for selective studies in your exams because anything may come in exams, maybe in MCQs, maybe in your long answer type questions or maybe in short answer type questions. So read every topic nicely, understand it, correlate with your day-to-day life and read the terminology because terminology is very important in economics. As regards economics, I can say it's far easier. It's 10 times easier than your mathematics. It's at least 5 to 8 times easier than in Hindi and English. Why? Because there's a single answer, normally a single answer to every question. In Hindi and English there are lot many explanations, lengthy explanations, but in economics there are simple terms. You just have to correlate with your day-to-day life. It's just like reading newspapers. It's easier than even that because in a single book lot many concepts are given. You just have to focus on one topic at one time. Don't hustle, don't panic, don't run into different chapters. Just read, focus on one chapter, read one chapter at a time. Just make small and simple notes in your own language. Improve your handwriting also because when you go for exams, your handwriting just becomes more deteriorated or more blurred or more, you can say it's not legible in that form. So just concentrate on your handwriting also. Right from now, if you are preparing small notes, you can do that. Okay. So here, measures to correct deficient and excess demand. Hold a pen and piece of paper when you are going through any YouTube video, not mine, every YouTube video, so that you can jot down the points whichever is explained in that video. Okay. So here, measures to correct deficient and excess demand. Deficient demand, we have already discussed. Excess demand and measurement, causes and consequences have already been discussed in video number 2, that is part 2 of this series, that is problem of deficient and excess demand. You can watch that video. Deficient means less and excess means more of demand. When there is less demand, there is lesser employment in economy, there is problem of unemployment in economy, and when there is more demand, there is problem of inflation in economy because more employment cannot be created beyond full employment because excess demand is demand above your aggregate supply corresponding to full employment level. To manage full employment, you need a stability in economy and you need to manage your demand at a stable position. So, to manage your demand at stable position in a stability, government and central bank of every nation take certain measures in their economy to ensure that demand remains in stability. It neither rises above full employment levels nor decreases below your full employment levels. Okay. So government and central bank. Here in India we have Reserve Bank of India as a central bank and government is our central bank that takes different measures. Government takes what type of measures? Fiscal policy. The measures taken by government are known as budgetary measures or budgetary policy, revenue expenditure policy or fiscal policy. What? Budgetary policy, you have heard the term of budget. Normally budget is a written statement of revenue and expenditure of the economy for 1 year. Okay, so different sources of revenue are tax and non-tax revenues. We will discuss them later on and in our budget chapter. But for now we have tax as a source of revenue for government. Borrowing, public borrowing is also a source of revenue for government. When it sells you different kinds of bonds or treasury bills, it borrows from people. Taxes, we have to pay taxes to the government. Even government gains from that type of taxes also is a source of revenue for government. And expenditure, government spends on infrastructure. It builds road for us. Who builds roads? Government builds roads. It builds government hospitals, government schools for children to study in them. So all these type of expenditures are taken by government for the welfare of the economy. So revenue and expenditure policy of the government ensures stability of demand in economy. Okay, so when government spends on different infrastructure services and different public utility services, it is known as injections because they are injecting money into economy. They are injecting welfare services into economy. So they are giving something to economy. That means injection. Okay, they are giving. Okay, when we are given medicine, that is injection, right? In the same manner, when government spends on public utility, on different hospitals, on education of people, on infrastructure, building roads, hospitals, etc., and defense services, law and order, just like police and your courts, etc., then it is known as injection. When it spends, okay, withdrawals, when it stops or decreases investment, when it goes for disinvestment. Just for take for example, when it sells its property or public property, just like any public enterprise. What are different public enterprises? You can say Navratnas of India, where it sells some of the shares of its enterprises to private sector, it is known as disinvestment. Or when it just increases the amount of taxation, that is also a withdrawal. It injects money in economy when demand is deficient, and it goes for withdrawals when there is excess demand. So injections are meant for your deficient demand and withdrawals are meant for your excess demand. Taxes, as we know, taxes are compulsory payments from public or from people of the nation to government of that nation. Just like road tax, just like your house tax, just like your development tax, or just like direct tax, indirect tax, income tax. These are all the taxes we have to pay. We don't get anything from the government in return of taxes. Taxes are just paid. We don't have anything from the government in return. So taxes are compulsory payment from people to the government. Okay, in this form, this is also a source of revenue. When there is deficient demand, okay, government reduces the rate of taxes. Why? Because if taxes are increased, then people have less purchasing power and they will demand less. So government reduces or decreases taxes when there is deficient demand. Then public borrowing. Public borrowing also in the same manner. Public borrowing means government sells securities, bonds, that is known as gilts also, treasury bills, that is 90 days. Treasury bills are normally repaid with interest in 90 days. So government, why does government borrow from public? Because for some developmental activities where it doesn't have money, it borrows from people. But to borrow from people, it have to give them something, just like your securities or bonds. So it sells securities to and bonds to people and gets money in return. Like, okay, so if it requires 1,000 crore rupees, 1000 crore rupees. It will sell securities and bonds to people, and it will borrow from people by selling them securities and bonds. Okay. Then borrowing from RBI, central bank. Government also borrows from RBI or the central bank of any nation. Other governments will borrow from their central banks, like America will borrow from Federal Reserve, or China will borrow from People's Bank of China. In India, we can borrow from, our government borrows from RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. Why does it borrow? Because whenever it falls short of money, it needs more money, it has to borrow, and it can borrow from Reserve Bank of India for different kind of expenditures on your education, public works, defense, law and order, etc. So when there is deficient demand, government spends more, it goes for more expenditure on different types of activities, that's like public works, education, defense, etc. And it goes for more injections, you can say. And when there is deficient demand, it lessens its taxes, it decreases its taxes. Okay. Public borrowing, it decreases public borrowing from people to ensure more supply of money in the economy, to let people have more liquidity or more money in their hands. It does not sell securities and bonds in open market. Okay. Then it does not borrow from people, that means, and borrowing from RBI, it borrows more. That means these two measures, taxes and public borrowings, are decreased. These two measures are DD, decreased, and these two measures are increased, II. Okay. So decreased, that is IDDI. That means government expenditure is increased when there is deficient demand. It means taxes are decreased when there is deficient demand. Public borrowing is decreased when there is deficient demand, and borrowing from RBI is increased when there is deficient demand. See, when there is deficient demand, government tries to give more money to people so they can spend on different goods and services in the market. They can create demand and they can increase demand so that employment can be increased and people gain more income and increase their demand in turn. So it's clear now. Next, move on to measures of central bank. See, there is already a video of credit control by central bank and a video on functions of Reserve Bank of India. You can watch that video. I will explain all these concepts in short over here because we don't want to make this video very big or lengthy. So here, central bank of every nation, and here we are discussing RBI, Reserve Bank of India. It takes different quantitative and qualitative measures to ensure that there is no deficient or excess demand in economy. Okay, number one, we have to see that quantitative measures, the code for this is BORCS, BORRCS. First is bank rate. What is bank rate? Bank rate is lending rate of RBI to commercial banks. When it wants to decrease the supply of money in economy during the times of excess demand, it increases bank rate, and when it wants to increase supply of money economy, it decreases the bank rate. How? When there is this deficient demand, suppose when there is deficient demand, it will decrease. D for decrease, deficient demand decrease, and when there is inflation or excess demand, it will increase bank rate. Why? Because when it will decrease bank rate, commercial banks will take more loans from RBI and they get more money and they can offer more credit or loans to people, general people, and people will get money and they can spend more on demand goods and services in the economy. So it will decrease your bank rate when there is deficient demand, D for deficient and D for decrease. Okay, and it will increase your bank rate when there is excess demand. Okay, when there is inflation, you can write inflation also here. When there is excess demand, there is inflation. We have already discussed. Okay. Now, open market operations, just like sale and purchase of securities, just we were discussing here, borrowing of money and all. Bonds and securities are sold in open market by your bank, RBI, to curtail or increase money in economy. Repo rate is the rate at which commercial banks get loan from your RBI. It is the rate at which they will take loans from RBI. It is decreased when there is deficient demand. It will increase when there is your inflation or excess demand, right? Then reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is the interest that is paid to commercial banks. See, I have discussed this in detail in another video, so I'm not wasting your time over here. You can watch that video. Reverse repo rate is the rate which is paid to commercial banks. Like we deposit our money in commercial banks, and what do we get? We get interest from them. In the same manner, when your commercial banks park their or deposit their excess funds or securities in your RBI, they also get some payment for that, and this is payment that received for their funds by depositing them in RBI or central bank. That is your reverse repo rate. So here reverse repo rate is decreased when there is deficient demand, it is increased when there is excess demand or inflation. CRR, cash reserve ratio, it is the cash of the deposit, it's the percentage of deposits of the commercial bank that is kept with RBI. I am again telling, I have discussed that in detail in that video. I am not discussing in detail over here. So cash reserve ratio is the ratio or the percentage of deposits of any commercial bank that are kept with RBI. Okay. So this cash reserve ratio is decreased when there is deficient demand, and it's increased when there is excess demand. You might have understood that everything is decreasing when there is deficient demand and everything is increasing when there is excess demand. So there is some pattern over here. Again, statutory liquidity ratio, SLR. The last alphabet of our code is statutory liquidity ratio. It is the percentage of the securities, gold and deposit that is kept in the vault of a commercial bank to meet the demand for day-to-day transactions of the customers of the commercial bank. So it is kept with commercial bank. The difference between two is like CRR is deposited with RBI and statutory liquidity ratio SLR is kept with your commercial bank in its own vault in a small room, that is with your commercial bank. So here again your SLR will be decreased when there is deficient demand and it will be increased when there is excess demand or inflation. Why? See, all these measures are decreased, or the percentage or the rate is decreased to increase supply of money in public or in economy through commercial banks, because see, loans are taken by people from commercial banks. They can directly take loans from RBI. So commercial banks act as mediator between the general public and your central bank, and through these commercial banks RBI increases and decreases supply of money. How it increases supply of money? By decreasing all these rates, and it decreases supply of money by increasing all these rates. When there is deficient demand, it decreases all these measures, quantitative measures, and when there is excess demand or inflation in economy, it increases all these measures. Clear? Very clear, I hope. Then qualitative measures. There are certain qualitative measures that are taken by your Reserve Bank of India or every central bank for commercial banks. That is margin requirement. When a person takes loan, he has to offer some margin on his property. Okay. For example, if a person wants to take loan on his house and his house is worth crores 10 crore, worth rupees 10 crore. Now what will happen if your margin requirement is 20%? So by offering a house of 10 crore, he will get a loan of 8 crore because 2 crore will be deducted in your margin requirement. When it increases margin requirement, say for example if it increases to 30%, margin requirement is increased to 30%. For this house of 10 crore, now what he will get? He will get only 7 crore. In the same manner, if it is increased to 40%, he will get only 6 crore. That means D for decrease, again, it is decreased when there is deficient demand and increased when there is excess demand. Rationing of credit. Rationing of credit means the commercial banks are given guidelines by Reserve Bank of India to offer loans to needy sectors of economy like agriculture, small industries, cottage industries, etc., or for education of students, etc. So, rationing of credit is done and it is mandatory for commercial banks to follow those guidelines. If, see, I am a student or you are a student, you want to get an education loan. So, RBI directs commercial banks to give a certain percentage of a deposit to or loans to students only, and it can't direct those loans to other people. So, this is rationing of credit for the needy sectors of economy. Then, moral suasion. Moral suasion is just like requesting commercial banks to follow the guidelines of RBI on moral grounds so that condition of deficient and excess demand are not created in economy. They do not offer excess loans to people, or they do not offer deficient loans to people, and they need to move their, or they need to operate on moral and ethical grounds. So this is moral suasion that is given by RBI. You just have to remember only one thing over here. During times of deficient demand, you need to increase supply of money. Okay, increase supply of money. For that, you need to decrease all these measures. All these measures are decreased. Okay, and during times of excess demand, you need to decrease supply of money. Decrease supply of money. So you need to increase all these rates. Okay, that's all for today for this video, and I hope you might have understood the topic. If you haven't understood, please do write to us in comments, and remember only one thing. There's only one thing you need to remember, that is be confident, be calm, and be happy, because happiness leads to every good thing in your life. So be happy and stay tuned. Thank you so much.